Part 3, Chapter 1. Attitude is everything. I firmly believe that the only disability in life is a bad attitude. Scott Hamilton. A bad attitude is worse than a bad swing. Payne Stewart. Attitude is like a pair of eyeglasses. It is the lens through which we view the world. Positive-minded people see life around them through rose-tinted or clear glasses, while those who are negative squint through glasses that are dark and gloomy. Both types of people can look at the same event or situation and see it in two different lights. Attitudes influence how we act and feel. They also affect performance. Former Major Leaguer Dave Winfield said, "So many players enter the game with the same approximate skills. The difference is not the aptitude, but attitude. Your attitude is more than your aptitude determines your altitude. How high you go, how far you climb the ladder of success." Optimists have a very positive expectancy that helps them achieve their goals. Theirs is a can-do attitude. They take action, which is empowering. Pessimists take a passive attitude. They play the blame game or focus on what they can't do. As a result, pessimists often become victims of self-fulfilling prophecies. Why would anyone not want to be an optimist? A Mayo Clinic study indicates that optimists, on average, live longer than pessimists do. The University of Pennsylvania tracked 120 men who had suffered one heart attack. 8 years of research found that 80% of pessimists had died of a second attack compared with 33% of optimists. Other research suggests optimism can lead to success at work, in school, and in sports. Hopefully the growth of this channel. I'm kidding, I'm confident that this will grow. In this book, Learned Optimism, psychologist Martin Seligman studied the New York Mets and St. Louis Cardinals baseball teams. After interviewing managers and players, he predicted the Mets' success and the Cardinals' downfall the following year. Talent being equal, players with a positive or optimistic attitude will outperform those with a negative or pessimistic one. After the 1995 All-Star Game, I made my annual mid-season trip to Seattle to visit with Mariners' team. At the time, Tino Martinez, who had played in the All-Star Game, was struggling at the plate. I found him in the kingdom, taking batting practice. Tino looked relaxed and happy. Between cuts, he joked with Ken Griffey Jr. and other heavy hitters in the Mariners lineup. Nearby, another player who recently had been called up from AAA, he had a homered in his first at-bat with the big league club. Was having no fun at all. Jesus. Between pitches, he muttered to himself. I'm messing up. Between pitches, he muttered to himself, and after each swing, he cursed the results. His body language said he was laboring, pressing. The kid looked as tense as strung wire. Afterward, I went into the manager's office and shared my observation with Lou Piniella. Tino and the other player provided an interesting study in contrast. Mac Piniella told me, "Tino is like I was when I played. When we struggle, we can't wait to get to the yard because we know we're due for a streak." A lot of younger guys who come up start questioning their abilities, having doubts. Hitting is all about attitude. One day, I was on a golf course practice green. I spotted Robin Yount, a member of baseball's Hall of Fame. Robin said he couldn't wait for his tee time. He was eager to get onto the course. "Are you playing well?" I asked, expecting him to say yes. "No, I've really been struggling," Yount replied. Then he shot me a smile. "But I know I'm due for a breakthrough." When I saw him in the parking lot several hours later, Robin said he enjoyed a great round. While a positive attitude doesn't always work, a negative attitude almost always does. Since you don't know what's going to happen, why not act as if you're going to have a good day? If you don't want to believe in positive thinking, then just get rid of the negative thoughts. The Arizona Cardinals had just won a big game on the road. The players were laughing and joking in celebration throughout the long flight home. Much of their playfulness was directed at the flight attendants who moved up and down the narrow aisle taking drink orders and serving dinner. As the plane rocked gently through the night sky, I remember smiling sympathetically at one harried flight attendant whose patience and cheerful disposition had been tested to the limit. As she walked past where I was seated, she rolled her eyes and muttered a self-reminding mantra of positive affirmation. "I love my job. I love my job. I love my job." Attitudes are learned, beginning at a young age. The good news is that attitudes can be unlearned and changed. We can train ourselves to look positively at negative events. I once worked with a UCLA tennis player who hated tiebreakers. "I never win tiebreakers," she told herself in a negative voice, so convincing that she came to believe it. But over time, she was able to change her attitude. She replaced that pessimistic voice with a positive one. "I love tiebreakers. Tiebreakers bring out the best in me." We learned earlier that you can't outperform your self-image. If you haven't developed a positive frame of mind, you're not going to create the mental state that will help you physically perform at your best. There are 3 P's for changing pessimism into optimism. Permanence. Optimists believe that when they lose or experience setbacks, there's disappointments. These disappointments are temporary rather than permanent. Pervasiveness. Unlike pessimists, who let their doubts and troubles affect every area of their lives, optimists are able to put their problems in a box and not let them distract them. Produces pervasiveness. Sorry. Personalization. Optimists internalize victories and externalize defeats. "We played great today. We deserved to win. They were lucky tonight. We'll win tomorrow." The pessimist does just the opposite. "We were lucky to win tonight. It's all my fault we lost. I'm a worthless loser." Pervasiveness. Messed that up. It is said that 10% of life is what happens to us, and 90% is how we choose to react to it. So let me ask you, what kind of attitude do you have? Are you an optimist? How do you view competition, winning, losing, adversity? How do you see yourself responding to pressure? Chapter 2. Riding the Pines. Attitude is a choice. Think positive thoughts daily. Believe in yourself. Pat Summitt. Don't let what you can do interfere with what you can do. Don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do. John Wooden. After starting 13 games the previous season and being voted by local sports writers as the team's most valuable player, Chris Chandler believed he deserved to be the Arizona Cardinals' starting quarterback. But when the 1993 season began, he found himself on the bench. Coach Joe Bugle had replaced Chandler with Steve Geraldine, a free agent who had signed a 3-year, $7.5 million contract. Must be nice. Bugle's decision wasn't surprising. In fact, it was almost as predictable as cafeteria food. The coach's job was on the line. He had to win. Also, in professional sports, money talks, and what it says is play me. Hobbled in preseason by an ankle injury, even Chandler wasn't shocked by the move, but the demotion stung him nevertheless. "It's a little embarrassing," he told the media after the team announced the decision a week before the season opener. "I know I'm not a backup," the new backup said through gritted teeth. One day, early in the season, Chandler approached me as he walked off the field after practice. "How do you handle something like this?" he asked. "As a sports psychology consultant, I devote much of my time counseling athletes who are sidelined because of a coach's decision or because they are injured. In this instance, I didn't know immediately how to respond. I wasn't sure what to say." I liked Chris. The Indianapolis Colts drafted him, then traded him in order to select Jeff George. Then Tampa Bay dumped him in mid-season. In my heart, I thought Chandler had earned the Cardinals' starting job and felt bad for him. I remembered a magazine article I had read about being your own boss. I told Chandler that even though he was a backup player, removed from the limelight, he still is a commodity on the National Football League stock exchange. Chris Chandler, Inc. Chandler needed to work each day on getting his stock to climb. Having a bad attitude wouldn't help. Not giving his best in practice only would drop his value. I reminded him that he was one play away from being the starter. He had to stay involved and ready. If the club traded him, what would he want the Cardinal coaches and scouts to say about him? He has a good attitude. He works hard. He is coachable. He's a real team player. Chandler didn't play much that season. The next year, he went to Los Angeles and then on to Houston. Eventually, he found a home in Atlanta and led the Falcons to the Super Bowl. Good things come to those who stay optimistic and are willing to persevere. I tell minor league baseball players what I told Chandler. In AAA, half the players feel they belong in the major leagues. The others think they have nothing to prove at that level. I urge them to ink themselves. They are writing their career resumes with each performance. It's not easy sitting on the bench, riding the pines. It's doubly tough for athletes who are injured, even though injuries are a part of the sport. An athlete can do nothing or use that time of inactivity wisely. Former Mariners pitcher Eric Hansen says spending more than 2 months on the disabled list proved to be one of his most valuable experiences in sports. "I didn't just sit around and wait for my arm to get better," Hansen said. "I saw a sports psychologist. At that time, I was just breaking in and was a little inconsistent. I had some good news. I had some good games and bad games, but I really didn't know the batters that well. I didn't know pitching that well, and I still don't. Every year is a learning process. I learned 10 times more from one night of not throwing a ball than I have my whole life pitching. All from observing, visualizing, and going through it mentally." I talk to Nolan Ryan for an hour at a time, to Roger Clemens, and to Mark Langston, who took me under his wing and was very inspirational. These are all guys who have been successful and who train hard. And all this was transpiring in the middle of the season during the time I couldn't pitch. I believe in can-do planning. When you're riding the pines, make a list of things you can do. Maybe that means watching videos, studying the opponent, exercising in the weight room, or cheering your teammates on. Ask yourself what factors you can control and what factors you can't. Many people carry a copy of the Serenity Prayer. The words are worth remembering. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's nice. Chapter 3. You gotta believe. The biggest thing is to have a mindset and a belief you can win every tournament going in. Tiger Woods. When you believe in yourself and the people you surround yourself with, you'll win something really big someday. Dick Vermeil. During a practice round, Tiger Woods turned to a friend, Davis Love III, and said wishfully, "Wouldn't it be nice if we could play head-to-head down the stretch?" 2 weeks later, competing in only his 5th professional tournament, Woods shot 8 under par 64 in the final round of the 1996 Las Vegas Invitational to finish in a tie for first place and force a sudden death playoff. His opponent was Davis Love. After the tournament ended, on his first extra hole, a television announcer congratulated the 20-year-old winner on his first PGA Tour victory and asked him if ever in his wildest dreams he imagined being so successful this early in his career. I'll always remember Tiger's response. The 3-time U.S. amateur champion flashed his 1,000-watt grin and replied, without hesitation, "Absolutely." Golf's newest sensation wasn't being cocky. Tiger was simply sharing the belief he has had in himself. Belief is a state or habit of mind in which trust or confidence is placed in some person or thing. Beliefs drive behavior, and behaviors affect performance in everything. When Tiger turned pro and said he expects to win every time, a mindset he learned from Jack Nicklaus, PGA Tour veterans rolled their eyes. But it wasn't long before Woods opened those eyes to the power of his belief system. "You realize Tiger means it," Tom Leahy said. "How does that affect me? It changes my mindset. If I don't expect to win every time, how can I expect to compete? I need to learn what he's learned. I better trust in my talent. I'd better believe in myself under the gun. I better expect to win." In psychology, the term self-efficacy is the belief in one's own ability to be successful. Simply believing in yourself doesn't mean you're always going to win, but believing in yourself can help enable you to put yourself into a position to win. Dick Vermeil is one who believed in himself and his players. At 63, he coached the St. Louis Rams to a Super Bowl championship. Another coach, Penn State's Joe Petrino, said, "You've got to believe deep inside yourself that you're destined to do great things." One year, the New York Mets climbed from 6th place to win the National League pennant. "You gotta believe," pitcher Tug McGraw shouted during a clubhouse speech. His words became the motto the 73 Mets carried into the World Series. The University of Arkansas also enjoyed a successful run during the same era. One year, in celebration of a late-season victory that earned the Razorbacks an invitation to the Orange Bowl, Happy Hawk fans tossed oranges onto the field. The humor wasn't lost on Lou Holtz. I'm glad. The Arkansas coach said after the game, "We're not going to the Gator Bowl." But the Razorbacks' giddiness gave way to the gloom. In the Orange Bowl, Arkansas faced Oklahoma, the number 2 team in the nation. The Sooners had lost only one game and were coming off a 38-7 rut of Nebraska. Arkansas was a smaller team. Its All-American guard was sidelined with an injury. Also, Holtz benched his top 3 offensive players for disciplinary reasons. The media wrote Arkansas's obituary in advance. The Razorbacks, 24-point underdogs, had no chance. Sensing his players were beginning to believe what they read in the newspapers, Holtz called a team meeting 2 days before the game. He asked his players why they thought they could win. One by one, each stood in the company of teammates and offered a reason. One player cited the Razorbacks' staunch defense. Another reminded that the team's nucleus remained intact. As they spoke, sharing their faith in each other, the atmosphere in the room changed. Holtz privately told a friend that his team would score 38 points. He was overly optimistic, but not by much. Arkansas won, 31-6. After the upset victory, a sports writer remarked how spirited the Razorbacks appeared when they sprinted out of the tunnel and onto the field before kickoff. It looked like a cavalry charge. What Holtz said to them: "I told them that Oklahoma is big, mean, strong, nasty, and aggressive." Lou deadpanned. "And the last 11 guys out of the locker room are going to be the starters. Belief systems are a big part of confidence. Beliefs that are irrational or unrealistic lead to stress. Let's look at the ABC theory of success and stress. The A stands for activating event. Tiger Woods enters the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. B is the belief about the event. Tiger tells himself, "I retooled my game. I've worked hard. I know the course. I'm going to go out and have a good round." C stands for consequences. The feelings and behaviors about the outcome. Tiger says, "I felt confident. I played aggressively and smart." There are several unrealistic or irrational beliefs some athletes have about themselves. Some think they aren't big enough, strong enough, fast enough, or good enough to play at a certain level. My question to them is, where's the evidence? Some have a belief system that says failure is a shameful thing. In truth, life is based upon failures. If you don't fail, you're probably not challenging yourself enough. If, as babies, we had a fear of failure, if we believed that failure is terrible, we might never learn to walk. Another irrational belief is, if I mess up, no one will love me. I'll be rejected. Imagine the pressure that kind of thinking creates. If you believe that by not winning, you're a loser. If you believe that if you lose, no one will love you. If you believe that taking a risk is dangerous. If you believe that not performing perfect is unacceptable. These beliefs will only cause upset and trouble in your life. One way some athletes counter irrational beliefs is through positive affirmations. These affirmations should be powerful, positive, and in the present tense. Muhammad Ali was the master. It's a lack of faith that makes people afraid of meeting challenges, and I believe in myself, Ali said. Also, to be a great champion, you must believe you are the best. If you are not, pretend you are. With a smile in his voice, the former heavyweight champion and boxing's greatest showman told himself and the world, "I'm so bad I make medicine sick," Ali proclaimed. That's a good line. Oliver claimed that there were only two greats in the world, Britain and me. Rod Carey, one of baseball's finest hitters, asked, "Do you believe you're a starter or a bench warmer? Do you believe you're an all-star or an also-ran?" If the answer to these questions is the latter, your play on the field will reflect it. But when you learn to shut off outside influences and believe in yourself, there's no telling how good a player can be. In a cartoon strip, Dennis the Menace asks Santa Claus, "Do you believe in yourself?" Ask yourself that question. What is your belief system? Do you believe in your dreams, your goals, and your abilities? Remember, what your mind can conceive and your heart believe, you